सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। Hari Om, salutations to all. So 525 we had seen Swameva Sarvatha Pashyan Manyamana Swamadvayam. Seeing the same self everywhere and understanding oneself to be the non-dual absolute reality. Swanandam Anubhunjanaha, experiencing the bliss of the self. Kalamnaya Mahatmane, spend the time. The Mahatma doesn't have a problem of spending time. They don't have to do time pass. This is just like a sharing. Even a great master, the teacher, is doing the same thing. So is a teacher as though telling the student, revel in bliss and spend your time. Inside, outside, same self. So whether the master is in the state of withdrawal or that person is engaging in the world outside, the experience of the self remains unaffected. And that person revels in that and operates from that. We operate from the ego. And the state of our ego keeps changing. And we think that is I. In the case of a realized master, the functional identity may still be there and there may be changes in that, but one knows that is not I. One knows that I am the self and that is changeless. So nothing in the world that happens or nothing that anybody says to them will make any difference to them, because they are anchored in that absolute changeless self. We are not anchored. We are like a boat which is drifting in the ocean without any boatman. Any wave takes it anywhere. Here is a person who has established. So no drifting, nothing will affect. In fact, one sees there is no duality, there is only one. So in that way, they revel in the absolute. And when we look at them, we see them acting. But their experience is all this is Brahman alone. Now continuing further. Akhanda bodhatmani nirvikalpe vikalpanam vyomni puraprakalpanam tadadvayanandamayatmana sada shantim parametya bhajasva maunam. So here he says akhanda bodhatmani nirvikalpe, in that which is of the nature of pure consciousness, which is beyond all thought, Vikalpanam Vyomni Pura Prakalpanam. All thoughts, all projections are like the city in the sky. Pura Prakalpanam Vyomni. So the clouds, they will appear, in different forms. So one imagines, oh, now there is an Omkar in the cloud, now there is a Ganesh Ji, now there is a city, now these are the people, now this is the face. So something one imagines. Like that, there is a imagination of what they call Gandharva Nagari. There's a whole city, and there is revelry, dance, music, food. So many things are there. And the one thinks that is all there in the sky, in this form of these clouds. There's some great city there. Vikalpanam Vyomni Pura Prakalpanam. Tadadvayanandam Tadadvayananda Mayatmana Sada. Having realized the absolute non-dual self, Shantim Parametya, one experiences supreme silence, Bhajasva Maunam, says remain in silence. Meaning these projections have all ended, that silence. Some people literally also become silent because what is there to talk, to whom to talk? One just engages in that self. They just become quiet completely. Because the ego has become silent, gone. There is nothing, no more anybody to please, no more speaking to do any action to get a result, then to become happier. That whole thing is gone. They experience the bliss and they just become quiet, absorbed. Like even when our desire is fulfilled, we want peace. And we want quietude where we experience, we revel in that bliss. We don't want people to disturb. We don't want anything, outside or even inside to disturb. So that's why when we stand in line for a long time and then we have darshan of Bhagwan, and then we go there and we close our eyes. Why? Because I want to experience that self, that Supreme Lord inside my heart. Through the eyes, or when I've seen the form, then one wants to close and capture the Lord in the heart as though. At that time, one doesn't want anything to disturb, inside, outside, nothing. So even in the desire fulfillment, whether it is some enjoyment or whether it is a spiritual practice like this, going to a temple or doing any japa or any such thing, one can enjoy truly when the mind is quiet. Here, the mind is completely become silent because the ego is surrendered. The what they call, the chatterbox is the ego. That chatterbox has gone to sleep. Every night it goes to deep sleep, but the chatterbox is gone completely. Then nothing is there to talk. So he says, you be silent. Otherwise, this projection goes on happening. How much one goes on creating noise. That's why Gurudev used to say one very nice quote. He said, if your words can improve upon silence, then only speak. If our words can improve upon silence, how can words improve upon silence? Absolute silence, they can't, definitely. Relative silence, possibly they can. So remain in the state of silence. Maunam here is not Vachik Maun. So there are Maun also at different levels. Maun by Kaya, meaning become still at the body level, one doesn't move. Maun in the Vacha. So Maun of the speech. One doesn't speak for certain time or certain days or certain years. and one finds the mind turns introvert. Maunvrat is a very powerful vrat to turn the mind introvert. If you remember in Vivek Chudamani only we have done earlier. Yogasya prathama dwara vang nirodha iti uchyate. The first step in yoga is control the speech. And Mauna is one of the most effective sadhanas to do. So Kayik Maun, Vachik Maun, then comes Manasik Maun, where the thoughts become quieter, lesser thoughts, single pointed thoughts, the wandering has reduced. Then comes the absolute Mauna, where the ego is surrendered, dissolved completely. Then one realizes Shanti as one's own Swarupa. That is Swarupa Shanti. That person is also called Muni. Muni means the bhav of Maunam who has attained, the ego who has silenced completely, that person is a Muni. And how did that person quieten the ego? By reflecting on the self. Mananashilavan Muni. One who continuously reflects, I am not this VMI, I am not this ego, I am not this finite entity, I am that pure consciousness. With that single pointed contemplation, when the ego is dissolved, that is Param Mauna. Swarupa Shanti it is. And there one realizes that that was always there. Even when thought disturbance are there or not there, that state remains always. So the teacher here is saying, you enjoy reveling in the bliss, that is the real bliss. This temporary pleasure born out of imaginations and false projections, you withdraw from all that. A realized student is already withdrawn and realized. So, as I said, it is not meant for realized student. Don't wonder why is this instruction being given to that realized person. He's already realized. Why they are telling him to again withdraw? The idea is that through that they are telling us that withdraw from all the false projections. There is no city out there. Same way this world we are seeing, just imagine this world is compared to a city in the cloud. Completely illusory. Doesn't exist at all. There is no city out there. World out here is not there. So this is a sadhana, Mount sadhana, quiet in the body, quiet in the mind, quiet in the ego, speech. So one by one, keep quiet. Shantim parametya bhajasva maunam. See that. Shantim parametya. Attaining supreme peace, live in silence, identifying yourself with the non-dual absolute bliss. Now the point here is this. Now if it is said, identifying with the supreme bliss, live in silence, it does not mean that the Mahatma will never speak or will never do any actions. They may speak, they may do lot of actions, but they are ever in Maunam. Because when the ego is silenced, Karta Bhav is gone, Bhokta Bhav is gone, then the action is born not out of a desire to enjoy or the desire to, boost the ego. The action is born anchored in silence, rooted in silence, and it will bring peace and happiness to the world. So though these great masters may be working so hard, but they are anchored in silence only. There is no, we feel if I do something, then only I will be happy if I get something. Or, so we act because we have a desire to achieve something, or because we have a fear to protect what we have, or because we want to avoid some sorrow or any such negative effect. So we act motivated by these three impulses. But the realized person has no such compulsion at all. In this third chapter of the Gita, this very beautiful shloka comes to explain this, that because the shloka of the Gita says that there is nothing for that person to do, that the person has gone beyond all duties. यस्य आत्मरतिरेव स्यात् आत्मतृप्तश्च मानवः आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्टः तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते. There is no duty for that person. Why? Because all the three impulses towards action have been quietened because ego is gone. So that is one shloka. And the following shloka after that says, Naiva tasya krite narthaha. There is nothing for that person to do, to achieve. That only when that achievement happens, the person feels complete. No akrite neha kaschana. And by not doing also, they will not have a problem. Nachasya sarva bhuteshu kaschidartha vyapashrayah. So they don't have to act because they are restless. They don't have to act to gain anything. They don't have to act to protect what they have. For us, these are the impulses and motive for action. If we don't do action, we feel restless. Because the vasana pressure is there. If we do action also, we are restless. Because ego, out of ego, that action is born. When the result comes, if it comes according to our desire also, we are restless. If it doesn't come according to our desire also, we are restless. Our situation is exact opposite. In any condition, we are agitated. But some temporary quietude of the mind we may experience. But as long as ahankar is there, there will be some agitation or the other. Tamasic, Rajasic, Sattvic. As I evolve in that guna and predominantly become Sattvic, then the agitation may become much lesser compared to Tamasic and Rajasic, but it will still be there. Finally, one transcends the gunas, drops the ego, that is the Mahamauna. That is the real Mauna. There is one Amavasya also which is called Mauni Amavasya. Very symbolic. Mauni Amavasya. Our mind is, moon, connected to the moon. Amavasya moon is, you can't see the moon. So Mauni Amavasya means like that. Symbolically I am saying that, otherwise it may have a different significance. But symbolically, Mauni Amavasya is very nice. The ego is gone and the silence of the self is experienced. So that is this. Become silent and revel in that silence. Out of that silence, even if one is acting, that is because the people need it or the Lord is using this equipment for achieving some loka sangraha, for the good of the, the well-being of the world. This person is not in the least having karta bhav, bhokta bhav. Tushnim avastha paramopashantihi buddhe rasatkalpa vikalpa hetoho brahmatmana brahmavido mahatmanaha yatra dvayananda sukham nirantaram. Tushnim avastha, that state of silence, parama upashantihi, and supreme silence, not just quietude of the mind, quietude of the self. Buddhe asat kalpa vikalpa hetoho. Because all the false projections and thoughts of the buddhi, they have become quiet. What is the experience? Is it blank? Is it some out of the world experience, miraculous experience? Some light suddenly flashing? What is it? Brahmatmana brahmavido mahatmanaha. These great people identify with Brahman They are Brahmavida, the knowers of Brahman. These great Mahatmas, the knowers of Brahman, identify with Brahman. And what is their experience? Advayananda Sukham Nirantaram. They experience non-dual bliss at all times. So when the earlier shloka we spoke about it, this is a clarification or elaboration of that only. That when the mind has become quiet, one is the temporary quietude of the mind, but the vasana pressure is there inside. So eventually the mind comes out of that state. Through certain willpower, through certain devotion, through certain concentration power, one is able to quieten the mind for some time, but the vasana pressure is there and the ahankar is there. It has only become dormant. And nothing wrong with that state by itself. As one keeps doing that and mind becomes quieter, then through steady contemplation, one drops the ego also. So it is in a process. But many people think that peace of mind is what we want. Really speaking, in a colloquial expression, we may say, I want peace of mind. Really speaking, we are not seeking peace of mind. We are seeking peace of the self. And it is not a dull state. It is a state of absolute bliss, right? Atra yatra advayananda sukham nirantaram. Continuous state of bliss. Now imagine, what do we really want? Do we want continuous state of bliss, or do we want broken state of temporary pleasure? What choices are being given to us? The choice is either you experience the absolute state of bliss, dropping the ego, or retaining the ego, keep experiencing temporary pleasure with lots of breaks. What is the choice? What do you want to choose? Bhagavan is telling us as though you choose. An intelligent human being says, can I have a both? Now and then I will experience this also and then this also. Mixture. They are opposite direction. That mixture is not possible. The fact is, this Advayananda Sukham Nirantaram is already there at all times, even right now when temporary pleasure is being experienced. It is Advayananda Sukha in the through the glimpse, through the mind becoming quiet, we get a glimpse of that when the desire is fulfilled. We are thinking that bliss is different and this is different. This is coming from objects and that is coming from the self. And there is nothing coming from object. It is all coming from self only. But our mind doesn't understand that. Our mind, that's why it runs behind other things. Here is the Mahatma who has stopped all that running and has turned the attention within. So Tushnim Avastha Parama Upashanti is extreme quietude. So the body is quiet, senses are quiet, they are not turbulent anymore. You know, the senses can become quiet when there is bhakti. If the senses are married to the Lord, then only the senses will become quiet. If the senses run behind sense objects, they will never be quiet. So if I want Shanti at the sensory level, I must turn towards bhakti. If I want Shanti at the mind level, turn towards bhakti. And if I want Shanti at the intellectual level also, surrender Karta Bhav to Bhagavan. I am an instrument, you are the doer, I am nobody, you are everybody. So through bhakti one can attain Shanti at all the three levels. Vachik Shanti also one attains. Or you can attain it through Jnana also. But you see, bhakti has many more practices. So majority of us need something to do. In Jnana we say withdraw and be a Sakshi. The senses are turbulent, just withdraw and be a Sakshi, don't give in to it. That we are not able to stay as a Sakshi, we give in to that senses. Either ways, whichever one wants to apply, Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga or Jnana Yoga, whatever one wants to apply and ultimately make the body, the senses, the mind, the intellect quiet and drop the ego. That is Parama Upashanti. Then what will be the state? Realization of the absolute is non-dual bliss will be our state. So whether there is Tapon Maharaj who sits quietly and who is watching the Gangaji, or whether it is Gurudev who is roaring like a lion every day, 3 to 4 talks, both of them are engaged in silence and their actions are born out of silence. Tapon Maharaj also wrote Ishwar Darshan, he wrote Himagiri Vihar, he wrote Saumya Kashisha Stotram, hymn to Badrinath. So many things he wrote. So creative expression doesn't stop even for realized masters. Some who are absolutely in that Samadhi Avastha only that we have seen in the Saptagnana Bhumika, the Turiyaga Avastha, then they don't come out of that. But others, they are anchored in the same Brahmavid. So that's why Brahmavido it is said, knower of Brahman. And that person may act also, like Tapon Maharaj used to wander in the Himalayas, but for him the whole mountains and everything is appearance of Brahman. So they may do action, they may not do action, they may withdraw the mind and absorb, remain in that state of Samadhi. Whatever is their condition externally, they're anchored in silence they are. We have to ask ourselves, my action is born from what? This one question we have to keep on asking. What is the motive behind this action of mine? Why am I doing this? Why am I saying this? Why am I doing this? Why am I not doing this? That question we have to keep asking. Because our ego takes us for a ride when we are inalert. If you remember again, earlier only in this Vivek Chudamani, it was quoted from the Upanishads. Moha eva mahamrityuhu. Sanat Kumars, they quote, Moha eva mahamrityu. Delusion is death, and that ego deludes us. We don't know why we are acting many times. What impulse, what subconscious urge, what kind of impression in us is making me act, that we don't know. So to become aware of that is important, and then to act consciously. Those actions which help us to evolve, we consciously stick to them. It may require us to come out of our comfort zones, but we have to come out of that. And those actions which take us away from our goal, which bind us more, which boost the ego, those actions have to be abandoned. Now, how will I know what to carry forward and what to abandon? Only when I become aware of the motive. What is my motive? Why am I acting? The realized master has gone beyond this question because there is no I. So as long as this small I is there, one has to be very alert of the motive, and one has to be utterly honest. Nisargadatta Maharaj said one quality. If you want to realize the truth, the only one quality that we need is be utterly honest to oneself. Don't justify, don't lie, don't cover up. If complete honesty is there, ego will dissolve. Ego thrives in dishonesty. Ego thrives in manipulation, false image projection. We like ourselves to be only in a certain way. We can't accept ourselves the way we are. So many times we see some flaws in us, we run away from that. Or we do a false projection. We project a different image about ourselves. Those are all the tricks of the ego. So if I'm utterly honest, I did this because this is my motive. One will find many times the motive is low. If one is a seeker, one will accept it, one will come out of it. If one is not able to accept it, it will thrive. How many times actions are born out of lust? Thoughts come in the mind You know, perceptions happen out of lust, out of anger, out of greed, out of jealousy. Deep down there is jealousy, but externally one is covering up, appearing very, you know, loving and caring and all that. Deep down one is jealous. I don't like this person. Why this person achieved so much success? So our motives we are not aware of. Then this Tushnim Avastha cannot happen. Tushnim Avastha happens when I am aware of my motives and I have trained this mind. That is called the Sattva Guna. That to anchor in the Sattva Guna and then act out of that. Slowly then that ego will become, it will dissolve. So Parama Upashanti. Then that is the absolute state. So the great masters, they act abiding in silence. Their silence is never disturbed or broken. And if we want to reach that state, we have to ask ourselves, what is our motive? Their motive is only selflessness. They don't have anything else to achieve. They will do things only for well-being of people. They don't want anything for themselves. So that is how these great masters revel in the absolute state. नास्ति निर्वासनान् मौनात् परम सुखकृतं परम सुखकृदुत्तमम् विज्ञातात्मस्वरूपस्य स्वानन्दरसपायिनः. So he says, na asti nirvasanan maunat. So Vivek Chudamani only keeps making it clearer and clearer, because our thinking about maunam is only quietude of the speech by force. Na asti nirvasanat maunat param sukha uttamam. There is no greater happiness than the mauna born out of nirvasana. Nirvasana means vasana has got exhausted. So that is called the maun of the vasana also. Nirvasana and maunam. So bodily maunam, vachik maunam, manasik maunam, you know, mauna of the vasanas, mauna of the ahankar. Real mauna is this. No vasana pressure inside. Nothing is pushing us that you have to act in this way only, and compulsiveness, impulsiveness, all that is gone. Nirvasanat maunat param sukhakriduttamam. There is no greater sukha than that. Vijñātātma swarupasya. And who will experience that? Who has realized one's own true self. Vijñāta atma swarupasya. Swananda rasa payinaha. And one who drinks constantly the bliss of the self. So this peace of the self, because vasanas etc. have been removed, exhausted, one experiences the peace of the self and as though he is drinking the bliss of the self. And hence this is the state of realization, where no vasana pressure at all. The ego will not rise. It is not the vasana has become dormant like in deep sleep. The vasana is exhausted. And the locus of the vasana, which is ahankar, has been given up. So at a certain stage, vasana pressure is very high. So ahankar I cannot give up. I have to reduce my ahankar first. So through karma yoga, I reduce my ahankar. Exhaust the existing vasanas by doing the work for higher purpose. When vasana pressure is reduced, Gurudev used to call in his logic of spirituality, quantity of vasanas is reduced, quality of vasanas has changed to sattvic quality. Then that person is able to withdraw the attention from the BMI, from the world, contemplate on the reality and drop the ego. So vasana pressure becomes lesser, ego becomes lesser, and one realizes. Ego becomes lesser one is able to act in the world without creating new vasanas, or with creating only bare minimum sattvic vasanas. So they both go hand in hand. Sequence you cannot find in that. Which will happen first? Ego pressure is high, vasana pressure is high. So start doing karma yoga. Vasana pressure reduces. Ego becomes thinner. Ego becomes thinner, more quietude of the mind, more joy within, more ability to serve well, more ability to contemplate. So they will go together. That is called state of, that is the sadhana to exhaust the vasana pressure, reduce the quantity, change the quality. Then one comes to nirvasana. Through steady contemplation that I am not this entity at all, where even sattvic vasanas I am transcending. I don't need this ahankar only is transcended. So where is the question of uh, entertaining sattvic vasana? That state is what we call as mumukshutvam, where one wants freedom from this state of finitude itself, which is our own mind, intellect, false identification with the BMI. So nasti nirvasanat maunat param sukhakrid uttamam. This mauna created by nirvasana state. If you remember earlier in Vivek Chudamani, one line came, Vasana prakshayo mokshaha. When vasanas get destroyed, that is moksha. How will vasana get destroyed? The locus of vasana, ahankara, has to get destroyed. Right now that locus of vasana is thickly covered by so much of vasana that we can't even negate that ahankara. We try to negate, I am not this, I am not this, I am not this, mind goes somewhere else. Because the vasana pressure pushes it out. So that pressure has to become lesser. Then one comes to identify, oh, this is the ego, this is ahankar, this is what is the body, mind, intellect identification. And that one drops through contemplation. Vijñātātma svarupasya svananda rasa pāyinaha. Gachan stishthan upavishan shayano vanyatha piva yathechaya vased vidvan atma rama sada munihi. Gachan, whether the sage is going, tishthan is sitting, tishthan means standing, because upavishan means sitting. Tishtha can mean both sitting, standing. Sanskrit language it is. So whether one is going, whether one is standing, whether one is sitting, or one is sleeping, or any other state, acting, running, whatever, so many states it can be. Yathechaya vased vidvan. That vidvan can do what one likes. Acha, vidvan can do whatever one likes. Why? Because Atma Rama Sada Munihi. That vidvan revels in the bliss all the time. So as we said earlier, no action will make that vidvan complete. And no action will make that vidvan feel incomplete. If we sleep, we have to be so careful that we don't sleep less, because sleep deprivation causes all kinds of physical issues also, mentally also, memory also starts failing us. So I should not deprive myself of sleep. I should not sleep extra, because then that is laziness. So I have to be very alert. But some of these Mahatmas, I told you earlier, they lie like a python, Ajgara Vritti. They will just lie, they don't bother anything. For us, it looks like what a waste of time. Are the Mahatmas already realized Brahman. Some prarabdha karma is there, the Mahatma is not interested, or whatever it is. Mahatma is just lying down. We will feel useless, we will feel worthless, we will feel bored, we will feel jobless when we just lie down like that. 23 days or 21 days of lockdown, whatever that number was, 21 I think. Can't handle. It is not even full, completely withdrawn state. It is only confined to the house. In that one is doing action. One has entertainment, one is eating, one has family, one is interacting, all that. In that one is feeling claustrophobic. In that one is feeling restless. Why? Because what is supposed to be is not there, so I am in an uncomfortable zone. This Mahatma, whether is sleeping or walking, talking, doing something, not doing something, for us there is conflict at all times. When we do something also we have conflict. If we don't do also we have conflict. The ego lives like that, you see. Never happy ego is. Sometimes it appears to be happy, so we feel, oh, I am so happy. Again, something else will come up. Again, some desired thought arises. Again, one feels, now I have to attain that. Again, the chase begins. So we are not at ease. This person is at ease. Atma Rama Sada Muni. Effortlessly one is abiding in that state, and being in that state, established in that state, this Mahatma can do anything. The abidance of that person is never shaken up. That's called effortless abidance in the self. That is what we call Sahaj Samadhi. Atma Ramaha. One revels in the bliss within. Ram means to revel. Sarveshu Ramante. That's why the word Ram comes from that. Ram. The self which is in the hearts of all is Ram. One who revels in that state of bliss, all motivation of action is only two now. Paramananda Prapti and Atyantika Dukkha Nivritti. We do action only for this, or we avoid action only to attain this. This person has attained it, so it doesn't matter to that person what action is happening or not happening. This is anyway no justification for us to be licentious. When he says Yathechaya Vased Vidwan, we can't say that oh, Vidwan can live anyhow. I am also a Vidwan now. I have also studied Shastra. I also know Brahman is my nature, so I will do what I feel like. This is the state of this Atma Rama Muni. Acha, Atma Rama Muni can do anything. They can be impulsive. They will not be impulsive. That's the point. Because they have overcome their impulsiveness and they have come to realize the absolute state. And if at all you see them doing something, there is a deeper reason behind it sometimes which you and I can't see. So they don't act impulsively at all. We are acting licentiously, impulsively, prompted by our own senses and body and the mind and our own raga and dvesha. They have gone beyond all. So their state is really spontaneous state. Every moment living in the self as the self. They don't have anything more to achieve. So their actions are born out of that state of love. And they will not act impulsively. They will not act, which will bring the mind down from the state of realization. They can't come down. They won't come down. No matter what happens externally, their level of their abidance never gets shaken up. Like it happens to us. Today, do we forget I am a man or a woman? We may act out of that knowledge. We may do anything, whether we act or we don't act. Our knowledge that I am a man or a woman doesn't get affected. No abidance is there in that. That is the sthiti of Jivan Mukta. That's the state of realization also. That's why it is defined as Swarupasya Sahajam Bhana Muchyate. Effortless awareness of one's own true self. That is called realization. So it is not a license to be impulsive at all. But it is only telling us that nobody can prescribe any rules for this Mahatma. The Mahatma who is gone beyond ego, no rules will Why? The rules cannot bind that person. Rules are meant to reduce our ego. As long as I am within the ego, I must follow the rules. I am talking about rules of self-control, discipline, sadhana, those things. And externally, one has to follow some rules, follow it. If one feels it is to be changed, it is not appropriate, then try and make the change. That's a different game altogether. Internally, I have to follow rules for my sadhana, to live in self-control, wake up at a certain time, do certain amount of japa, do certain amount of exercise, avoid the negative aspects. Those are all the rules, sadhanas. It's very interesting. The word for rules is niyama. Yam and niyam in yoga they say. So yam means to control. What to control? If I follow those rules, my body, my mind, my pranas, my speech, everything will get controlled and I will conserve the energy. And finally the ego will dissolve. So the rules are meant to go beyond rules, just like a ladder is used to go beyond ladder. Same way rules are to go beyond rules by dropping the ego. The rules are not meant for being rigid, and the rules are not meant for sake of rules, and the rules are not meant for constricting us. The rules are actually meant to expand us to our real state. It appears that we have to withdraw, but that withdrawal is for expansion. How strange is that? Why? Because right now I've forgotten who I am. My state is infinity. I've forgotten that. And the only way I will realize it is in my heart. Throbbing here, aham, aham, aham. I can't realize it out there. It is in my own heart. So if it is in my own heart, what do I have to do? Withdraw. And realize, I am that infinite self. If my attitude towards rules is this, that rules help me to expand, not constrict me or not limit me, not bind me, then I will follow rules happily. In the world also, to some extent, we do that or not. When we were children, so we were brought up with this mindset. Today's mindset is very different. But we were brought up with the mindset that conserve wealth, don't waste. Every penny is important. If you live in control now, you can enjoy properly. Your future also is secure. That time this borrowing and the EMI and this credit card system, many of those were not there. And in general, the thought process was one should not borrow. One should live within one's means. What in Hindi they say, jitni chadar utna pair pasaro. Don't live beyond the means. Today, so one is living beyond means also, and then all pressure of paying the installment and all that stuff. It has its own reasons. That's a different thing. My point here is that when we live in self-control, that is to expand. So when a person is conserving that wealth, that helps that person only to live a better life as the wealth is conserved. Then one can buy a home, one can own that whatever property, one can buy land, the jewels and anything, vehicle, whatever it is. If I live in discipline, I can enjoy better. That's the thing, has to go inside. Because there are rules otherwise, and we feel, why I like to be a free bird. I don't want to follow rules. And one takes great pride in breaking rules. I'm a rebel. I break rules. Externally, if one has to do something, do it. I'm not saying no. But internally, don't break rules. Because the internal rules are to reduce the ego to realize the infinite. So that the limitation as though is only to create expansion, to realize that our state is absolute bliss. And not knowing that we are just losing ourselves in the world outside. So yathechaya vased vidwan, that statement is not to be misunderstood by us. A Mahatma can live the way the Mahatma wants because the Mahatma has already realized the self. We can't live like that. What it is called, Swachhanda Vritti. This Swachhanda Vritti of the unrealized person and this Yathechaya Vased Vidwan, they are very different things. In Swachhanda Vritti, one knows what is wrong also, still one will do it impulsively. One has no control. Or one knows something is right, that also one does impulsively. In the sense that one engages with a lot of impulse in right or wrong. Here the impulsiveness is not there. The ego is not there. Here there is no control. Here there is complete control. Here there is ignorance of the self. Here there is realization of the self. So there are two opposite states. If one looks externally, they look similar, but they are not similar. They are very different. And so one has to understand this in a proper context. The Vidwan here, whatever that person is doing, even the most mundane actions, they will not bind. But for us, they will bind. So the suggestion given here is Yathechaya Vased Vidwan Atma Rama Sada Munihi. Because that person is reveling in that state of bliss. See, Gurudev in his commentary has written, a man of realization always lives in absolute freedom, as he desires, Swa-Ichha. He does nothing prompted by the dictates of others, Anya Ichha. Anya includes everything which is not self. The BMI also are Anya. So they don't act out of impulses of Anya. The body, mind, intellect also is other than I. So naturally that clarity and that description is very clear. Clarification is there that the body also is come under Anya only. So Svechaya means reveling only in the self, not in anything else. Going ahead. Nadesha Kala Sana Nadeshakala Sanadigyamadi Lakshadhyapeksha Pratibaddha Vrittehe Samsiddhatatvasya Mahatmanosti Svavedane Kanyamadhyavastha Na Deshakala Asana Dig Yama Adi. Desha is space, Kala is time. Then asana is the posture. Desha, Kala, asana. Dig is the direction. Then yama, adi. So the rules, disciplines. Yama, niyama, those rules and disciplines. Lakshya, meaning the goal. Adi, apeksha. Apratibadha vrittehe. Vritti means thought. Pratibadha vritti means bound by thought. Apratibadha vrittehe means one who has gone beyond the bondage of thoughts. For that person, none of these will matter. No. No. Neither desha, nor kala, nor posture, nor all this, direction and following certain rules and then be remaining focused on the goal. None of them will apply. Why? Because they have already gone beyond all. Samsiddha tattvasya mahatmano asti. One who has realized the absolute. Swavedane ka niyamhadyavastha. Where can any rules, anything be prescribed for that person who is already reveling in the self, recognizing the self alone? Swavedane. Swavedane means one who has realization of the self. Vedana here does not mean pain. So Swa Vedana does not mean one's own pain. Vid means to know. Swa Vedane means to know one's own self. Swa Vedane ka niyamadi avastha. For that person, what rules can bind? In fact, what they do becomes rules for others. Scriptures, the Veda also dares not to tell what a realized man should do. Veda can tell only instructions for a bound person, not for a liberated person. That is a high state of realization. Gurudev used to say his life becomes a scripture, his words are hymns. And that person revels in the state of fulfillment. So for us, the place matters where we are. We should spend more and more time in sattvic places. Rajasic, tamasic places one has to avoid. Desha, Kala, we have to use time properly. When there is Sattva Guna in the atmosphere, do sadhana, do dhyan, do bhajan, etc. Then through the day, when there is Rajoguna, do activity. And when Tamoguna starts in the evening, sleep as early as one can. Sleep early, get up early. So as a sadhak, these rules apply. And the Mahatma also has gone through those things before. See, it is not that suddenly, without following any rules, he realized the self. They have followed all rules, then realized the self. Having followed the rules, they have gone beyond. So for us, Desha matters, Kala matters. Then asana, to remain in a posture and to remain still in that posture, asana siddhi. Otherwise, the body is very restless, continuously doing something. Even sitting quietly, one is not quiet, one is doodling something or picking something, scratching something goes on. So asana, just to be in a posture without movements. Desha, Kala, Asana, Dig, direction is important. So if I'm facing, if I am, let us say, studying or meditating, I should face the east direction or the north direction. If I'm sleeping also, I have to sleep in a particular direction, based on the rotation of this earth. North, south, one has to sleep. The head must be in the north. When a person dies, then the head is put in the south. The south is the direction of Yamaraj. So like that, there are different rules. I have not studied Vastu and all that. Don't ask me. Find out from somebody who is more knowledgeable. I'm just telling you some basic little things which I know. So the direction matters. Which direction am I facing? What impact it has on the body and consequently on the mind. So one has to face properly the right direction. Yama and there are various other yamas like Satyam, Ahimsa, Brahmacharya, Asteya, Parigraha, Swadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhan, all these. Yama and Niyam. And Lakshya, what is my goal? Am I focused on my goal or not? Or my mind is diverted, distracted? All these are very important in the sadhana avastha, but for a siddha, they are of no use. Apratibadha vrittehe, for a person who has gone beyond the limitation of thought. That is a very nice word. Apratibadha vrittehe. No more one is bound by the shackles of one's own thoughts. Freed. How is that? Samsiddha tattvasya. That person has realized the absolute self and Mahatmana. They have attained the Atma, the self in all. Mahan Atma. Swavedane ka niyamadi avasthaha. To recognize one's own true self, what niyama is required? No niyama is required to know who I am. They revel in that state. We require to know we require to follow all the yamas, etc., because we don't know who am I. And the best part is when one comes to know who am I, one realizes that what a dumb fool I was. There is all this, it never existed only. Only the reality exists. So Swavedane ka niyamadi avastha. If you want to apply that line at a simpler level also, at our level also, we can apply that line. To know who am I, no rules are required. As a jiva I am talking. I don't have to sit in a particular direction to know who am I. I know I am here. I may sit in a particular direction to ensure that the wrong impact doesn't happen on me and the right impact happens to me. That is a different thing. But to know that I am, I don't need anything else. Our problem is we have added adjectives to I am. But I'm just saying that even at a simpler level, to know my existence at a relative plane also as an ego, I don't need Desha, Kala and Dig and Yama and Asana, none of that. I know I am existing. Only problem is I don't know who is that I. So for that I follow all the niyama and niyama everything to discover the real I. So today I have mistaken the false, the unreal to be the I. So the BMI I am thinking is me. That is not me. So that is the meaning of the last line. Swa vedane ka niyamadi avastha. More we continue tomorrow. Any questions today?
Namaste, Swamiji. So even after knowledge, you have to deal with mithya anatma. And what we need to identify.
No, we don't have to. Please remember I said this is meant for us, not for them. Realized masters, what mithya anatma? There is nothing to deal with. No, their prarabdha only is not there negated. All the explanation by Shastra is for us.
Yeah, for us only, I'm saying, not for them. Acha, so essentially what we have to identify with is never available to us for experience.
Why?
And what we should not identify with is always available. That's what makes it real. We think it's real.
See, it is apparent that it's appearing to us as though what we identify with is never available. But that's a false notion. How is it that the aham is not available? Aham is available all the time, and which is what I have to realize.
Yes. So
And
my
what is
question is
available outside also is we are thinking that is real and we are thinking this is unreal. Both are available, by the way.
Yeah. So my question is now, if is jnanam a condition of the mind, because the mind keeps changing?
No. Jnanam is not a condition of the mind. Through nididhyasan, a certain vritti jnana can arise which can destroy ignorance in the mind. But jnanam, as the nature of the self, is not the quality of the mind, because mind has to be dropped, mind has to be destroyed. Mano nasha has to happen to realize jnanam, you see. So how jnanam will be quality of mind? It can't be.
Okay. And second question is, now suppose I see a wall, okay, and there is a thought that this is a wall. Now that is not causing my samsara, but if I think that that wall is an obstacle to something which I want to achieve, that causes the samsara. So
what is the question?
So how do I deal with this? Because I can't stop the thought that this is a wall.
So
I'm
you said
going to see
that
nature.
so as you said, the thought that this is a wall is not binding you. So why do you have to deal with it? It's a thought. It is there. But when you have to deal with the wall, then the egoistic thought will arise. I don't like this wall. Why should the wall be there? Then you have to deal with that. Otherwise, the wall being there, what difference it makes to you? There's nothing to deal with. It is just there. Thousands of things are there in this
So
world.
that means only if you react to what you see, then it is a problem. Otherwise, it is not a problem.
Exactly. So if I react egoistically or if I react because of any other impulse, That I have to deal with. The existence of something by itself, I don't have to deal with it. A big, huge mountain is there in front of me. What difference it makes? It is there. If I have to cross it, or if I feel oh, it's an obstruction, or I can't cross it, so I will not be happy, then that psychological brooding and that feeling is what I have to deal with. Otherwise, it's just there. I acknowledge it. In fact, I enjoy it also. Oh, wonderful mountain. That's all.
Okay. Thank you.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.